Wait, what? That can't be right.
Hey Red, what's up? Have you booked your flight to Mumbai yet?
That's why I called. The price of the flight is up by more than $100. I think it's probably because of the conflict between the US and Iran. The oil prices are skyrocketing.
It's a mess, It just goes to show how vulnerable we are when we are tied to oil. And it's not just the cost, the climate pressure is mounting. Aviation already accounts for nearly 3% of the global emissions. If the industry were a country, it would be like a top 10 emitter.
You're right, Abid. No industry is feeling the crunch quite like aviation. I just checked and the price shocks have led to cancelled flights from Nigeria to New Zealand. There's also no end in sight, so governments and airlines are desperate for solutions.
You know what I've always wondered? Why can't we just do what we did with cars? Why can't we just electrify the sky? I have an electric bike, my neighbor has an EV. Why isn't there like a giant battery powered 747 flying you to Mumbai?
It comes down to one really annoying thing. Physics. Jet fuel is a bit of a miracle liquid. It's incredibly energy dense.
That makes sense, meaning a little bit goes a long way.
Exactly. To get the same amount of energy you get from 1 kilogram of jet fuel, you need about 50 kilograms of the best lithium-ion batteries that we have today.
Ouch. So if you tried to power like a massive passenger plane with batteries, the batteries would be so heavy that the plane literally couldn't fly itself off the ground.
Precisely.
You know what I think, right? Airlines aren't just trying to go in green because they want to save the polar bears. They are doing it because they are looking at their bank accounts and seem like a giant hole there.
Exactly, Abed. Governments are finally realizing that relying on a single carbon-heavy, volatile fuel source is a huge security risk. How do we build supply chain resilience if oil is the most important fuel to almost all of our industries, and especially transportation?
And if we can't use batteries, why can't we just keep using traditional jet fuel without breaking the bank and the glam hit?
Well, that's where things get interesting. There's talks about dropping a new kind of fuel into the engines that we already use today.
He's talking about SAF, or Sustainable Aviation Fuel. It's been quite the solution for a long time, but with the world literally on fire now, it's getting to the center stage now.
On today's episode, we're going to be looking at what this stuff actually is. Is it really made from used cooking oil and household trash?
And more importantly, can it scale fast enough? My name is Abhed Manocha.
And my name's Rhett Marchand. Welcome to the future of biotech, where we break down what you need to know to understand the emerging biotechnologies shaping our world. Okay, so getting back to SAF. We just need to change the liquid that's in the tank? That's it?
Yes, there are multiple ways to produce SAF, but in the end, you just mix it in with your aviation fuel and put it in your tanks. Do you know about ethanol blending in your cars? It's basically like that.
Right, E10 or E20, basically mixing plant-based alcohol with gasoline to help stretch the oil further and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Exactly. Well, sustainable aviation fuel is the ethanol blending for the planes. We don't want to go to the 100% SAF right from the start, but we want to start blending it with aviation turbine fuel.
But wait, if I put the wrong fuel in my car, the engine dies on the highway. If that happens at 30,000 feet, well, that's a big problem. Is this stuff actually safe to mix?
It's an important question. SAF is termed as drop-in fuel, meaning it is almost identical to your aviation turbine fuel. International standards still require like 50% till 50% blending with your regular oil. But right now, it's only like 1% of the aviation fuel.
So far, it sounds safe and compatible. Does it actually work in the real world?
It's actually been working longer than you would think. We had our first SAF demonstration in Beijing in October 2011.
2011, that's like 15 years ago.
Yeah. Air China flew a Boeing 747, one of those massive jumbo jets with one of the engines running with a 50% SAF and 50% regular fuel. Even though thousands of flights have taken place after that moment, but Air China deal, there was really a I really told you so moment.
Okay, so it's not made from fossil fuels. So what is SAF actually coming from?
Well, first, you have got HEFA. It's basically like the used cooking oil method. You collect fat from your local McDonald's or a meat processing company, and then you refine those used cooking oil into jet fuel. It is the most mature technology right now and constitutes around 82% of the total SAF being produced around the world. In India as well, the production for SAF is started being connected with it, and we have a refinery coming up in Panipat in Haryana in India. But the major issue with this method is that it is quite a task to collect all the used cooking oil from all across the world.
In Australia, we actually export most of our used cooking oil to Southeast Asia and to Europe so that they can create biodiesel and SAF. If we were instead to keep it, we could cover like 4% of the Australian jet fuel requirements. And that's just from the raw materials that we're already collecting. After 2030, global SAF demand is predicted to actually exceed the amount that we could create using used cooking oil. So other methods are probably going to dominate in the future. But right now, HEFA is reliable, efficient, and ready to go.
Then there is alcohol to jet. We were talking about ethanol landing in your cars. You basically take that ethanol being produced from corn or maize or sugarcane and then convert it into SAF. India has quite a capability in ethanol, and we are going to use it to produce SAF as well.
Australia has 3 ethanol refineries, but they only run at about 30% capacity. And the ethanol that is produced is mostly exported. So once again, we actually have the raw ingredients, they're just waiting to be used.
Third is the gasification or the Fisher drops method. You basically take your household trash, the stuff that you put in your blast bin, and then convert into gas and then into fuel. That's basically it. And then we have the holy grail. It's called power to liquid.
That sounds like a superhero name.
It kind of is a superhero technology. You basically take out carbon dioxide from the air, mix it with green hydrogen that is being produced from renewable energy and water, and you literally create fuel out of thin air.
So we're talking trash, old fries, and thin air, and using that to cross the Pacific.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like science fiction.
Okay, I'm sold, but I'm looking at the global production numbers for SAF, and it makes up less than 1% of all jet fuel that's used. If it's so great, why aren't we building these things on every corner?
Well, the major issue is green premium. Right now, these SAF being produced from all these technologies cost over 2 to 5x of your regular fuel.
It makes sense. If you're an investor with $1 billion, are you going to put your money into a fossil-based refinery that you know has guaranteed demand? Or put it into a SAF refinery where the final product is 3 times more expensive and you don't even know if airlines are going to buy it?
It's a tough set. Without measures from the government, there is no incentive for the businesses to get into this.
And that's the bottleneck. We're in this chicken and egg situation where we need the scale to get the prices down, and we need the low prices to get the scale. The ICAO, the global body for aviation, has this framework called CORSIA. And next year, in 2027, the mandatory phase kicks in. Essentially, if you're an airline and you're emitting over a certain level on international routes, you have to pay. You either buy carbon offset credits, which is paying somebody else to plant trees, or you can use SAF to reduce your footprint.
That's interesting. So SAF is basically like the get out of jail free card for the businesses.
Precisely, but here's where things get geopolitical. For countries like Australia or India, if they're not going to develop their own SAF production, they're still going to have to meet these mandates when they fly internationally, like to Europe or to the US.
So they have to import the SAF from the countries that are actually producing it.
Exactly. We'd be trading our dependence on oil-rich nations for a dependence on SAF-rich nations. It doesn't solve the energy sovereignty problem.
And we're already seeing countries draw a line in the sand for this. India already has a target of 1% by 2027 and 5% by 2030, meeting in line with the CORSIA guidelines.
It's a start, but is it enough? If you're a bank looking to lend $500 million to build a refinery that's going to take 5 years, you don't want indicative targets. You want mandatory targets. And India and Australia need definitive mandatory targets and clear demand mandates if they want to start building SAF production domestically.
You have to think about the political sensitivities as well. In late 2023, Indian government banned the usage of ethanol produced from sugarcane because the domestic sugar prices were spiking up. Then they pivoted to maize. But then the issue was the poultry industry was up in arms against them because the cost of chicken feed was getting too expensive.
That makes perfect sense. In Australia, sometimes we look longingly at India's robust ethanol sector, but that can miss the perception of the average citizen. When they hear about the prices for pulses or grains going up, and then hear that those same crops are being used to fuel flights to London, that creates a real tension between food and energy.
And it's not just alcohol to jet method. If you think about it, HEFA would actually have this problem as well. You can just cultivate seed oil, seeds and produce oil out of it. But then there's the issue of food versus fuel debate here as well.
I want to discuss food-derived SAF because I think it's a critical crossroads. We're seeing a massive split in regulations globally. Take the EU for instance. Their Refuel EU rules are very strict. So strict that food-derived SAF literally isn't considered SAF.
So you are saying it doesn't even get a label?
Nope. It's not considered suitably sustainable, which means that none of the policy support, the subsidies, or the mandates apply at all. If you're making SAF that's derived from ethanol, that's derived from corn in the EU, you're basically on your own.
And the US is a bit more flexible, but only just.
Right, in the US, to get the SAF label and the tax credits, you have to demonstrate a greater than 50% reduction in life cycle carbon emissions compared to fossil jet fuel. That's a high bar. And a lot of food-derived options, once you factor in the land use and the water and the transport, really struggle to meet that cutoff. So we're stuck. We need SAF to fly, but we can't use the food that we eat to make it. And the trash to fuel tech isn't scaling fast enough.
This is why 2G or second generation ethanol blending, the stuff made from agricultural waste, is getting more attention. Because you take care of the air pollution thingy like the smog pollution in northern India, and you also take care of the food versus fuel debate.
Definitely. So we're recruiting some help. In our next episode, we'll dive deep with an Indian and Australian SAF expert to answer these challenging questions and to get real insight into the future of SAF for our nations.
Thanks for checking out the show. The aim of the Future of Biotech podcast is to get you up to speed to the emerging biotechnologies. If you have any question related to tech, feasibility, policy, financing, or anything SAF related, please put your questions in the comments below or on the video itself. Thank you.
The Future of Biotech podcast is part of BiaSPARK, an Australian National University National Security College initiative for Australia-India biotech collaboration. This episode was written and produced by Abhed Manocha and Red Merchant, who you just saw, and edited by myself, Rohan Pai. See you all in the next episode.